before we get going here, I think there's a handful of things to cover. First of all, I want to thank our fans. I think this is the largest average attendance we've had for a home season since 2015, right around 87,000 on average. And they made an impact tonight. There's no question about it. And really, this group of seniors is deserving of that, you know. Can't have a good football team unless you've got some maturity amongst your seniors, some presence, some ownership, some leadership. We've got a handful of players in this group in particular that I think have been difference makers. It's certainly good that we were able to make a memory for that group, right? A positive memory for that group. So, and I also want to say that this week has been really impactful to our team and staff, saluting those who serve. We were intentional about getting people around our players that have served in the military, and people that are in leadership positions that really, sometimes I think if those things are out of sight, out of mind, we take those things for granted. So we're very thankful for those people who participated this week, and certainly all the people across the country that are doing just that. So great memory for the seniors. Can't compliment the staff enough, just from a leadership standpoint. And then amongst the players, right, there's an ownership that's different, right? And I think that the football's improving because the people are improving. And there's a brotherhood in that room. There's a connection in that room. And I think they're starting to play the game with the right intent, right? Getting consumed on what they can do to help the team. Then the individuals play better and the result is better. So a lot of good out there. Still a handful of plays that are not quite what we're looking for. But it's good to start fast, get control, and keep control to some degree. What questions we got?
I will open with Edgar.
So Billy, the defense has gone 6 quarters without giving up an offensive touchdown. The unit just seems to be playing with this energy and gang tackling and stuff. Right. What kind of light went on for that?
Yeah, no, I think that done a good job of sticking with and getting consumed with the process of preparing to play to play. I do think the staff has done a terrific job making tweaks. You know, we've improved in certain statistic areas that were not up to par, not the standard. But again, I go back to, I keep saying this, I know y'all don't like to talk about these things, but the people are improving, the football's improving. I mean, there's just a different approach. You know, I think that guys are playing the game with the right intent, with respect for the game, understanding that this game is not about individuals, right? That if you want to have individual success, you get consumed on what you can do to help the team. You work hard on the role that you've been given. You prepare a certain way, and there's a certain part of this game. There's a human element to this game, right? I mean, that's what makes it a special game. We got hundreds of people that contribute to that out there. Not just the defensive players that contribute. There's lots of people that impact the player's ability to perform. So goes back to the intangible parts of the team, and I think that's ultimately the difference.
You've mentioned the standard here is higher than just qualifying for a bowl game, but how important is it that you guys got that 6th win and are going to get this postseason bid?
Yeah, I mean, those things are good. You know, I mean, I would like to think that that we go to a bowl. I mean, I'm not really worried about a bowl game. I'm worried about getting that group to keep improving. You can worry about, that's not how we do it, right? I mean, you get consumed with the things that you can do better, being more efficient, having better relationships, being better communication, better fundamentals, all these things that contribute to winning.
Matt Baker.
Hey, Billy, congrats. You keep talking about the people getting better, so help me understand that better. What are little things that you're seeing that are helping translate to out there? Is it just more film study? Help me understand that.
No, I just think that, the character, the consistency of the character of an individual, it's easier to respect an individual when you see consistency from a person, right? Like you see them really trying, right? You can't fool players, and you certainly can't fool your teammates, right? So I think that there's been ownership at that level, right? There's been leadership, right? There's been challenges made, right? They know who's doing their part and who's not. They know who can do better. And I think that you finally have gotten to a point where players are basically taking the bull by the horns to some degree. You don't have a good football team unless it's players make a team, right? And I think that some of those things are missing, to be quite honest, right? I think we've seen the growth in some of those areas, and I think it's affecting how they play.
Mark Long.
Speaking of growth, the run game the last 2 weeks, almost 400 yards on the ground, 374, I think, today. Is there any more room there? I mean, it seems to be really, really close to about getting about everything you can out of them.
Yeah, no, I think that it's what we've done in the past, and it's what we're good at, right? So I think you got to play to the strengths of your team. It's unfortunate we turned the ball over there at the end. We played 4 games in a row without a turnover. Penalties, we're minimized that part. We're getting takeaways on defense. But I think that, this game in particular, if you take a good look at how you beat South Carolina, you got to win the line of scrimmage and the edges, right? You got to rush the ball effectively, and you got to stop the run. We certainly did that today. That was the challenge in the week. Win the turnover margin, win the rush part of the game, and special teams, obviously a big part of the game as well. We screwed that up a little bit, and certainly some things we can do better there, but we did what we needed to win the game.
Is that all that was missing from this being a complete game that we talked about earlier in the week? Offense was great, defense was great.
Yeah, I thought our operation on offense was a little sloppy at times, maybe things you guys don't see, but when we make mistakes that have nothing to do with the other team, those are things that I get. So we made a handful of errors tonight that I think we can clean up. The kicking game in particular, I thought was a little sloppy. But they're good. I mean, they work hard at it. They invest time in it. They've got really good people leading that area of their team. They work at it, and they're good at it. So, we botched the field goal. They blocked the field goal. We gave up a fake punt for a touchdown. Those are the 3 plays I'm thinking about right off the top of my head.
Cameron Brockwick.
Yeah, Coach, it's senior day, but there were a couple of freshmen out there. Obviously, Trevor Etienne, he's been doing it all season, and Caleb Douglas. Just what kind of building blocks are they for the future, and maybe in particular even Caleb stepping up today with Shorter being out?
Yeah, both those young men are talented young players. Trevor obviously has gotten more experience early in the year. You can see he has physical ability, but the impressive thing about him is he is humble. He's very smart. He's got really good character. He is a good teammate. He's a leader, believe it or not. That guy's a leader, right? Like amongst the players, he will call a guy out. He's that kind of guy, right? So, I think it's one thing when they're a good player. It's another thing when they're a good player and they're smart and they're mature and they got leadership traits. He does have that. So, Caleb Douglas continues to get better with experience. He's been productive. He's got a huge ceiling, right? Like that guy's going to get better and better. So it's another kid who comes from a great family, who has character, who's a very consistent worker. He's a good young player. He's only going to get better from here.
Nick.
Well, you probably haven't even thought about this yet, but when you think back to this senior class and how they bought in and how they led when you were trying to build and lay down a foundation, what do you think you'll hold in your mind about this class and what they meant to the first year in your program?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard on young people, right, to go through change, right, and these guys, they've had a rough run at it, when you think about what they've been through, ups and downs, right? There's been a lot of good things, but there's also been some tough things. So anytime you have change, the uncertainty that comes with that, they embrace the work. I can't compliment that enough about this group of players and these seniors in particular. They work, they love to compete. It's a small group, truth be known, when you really look at it big picture-wise. So there's some key components. I mean, Ventrell Miller is as good of a human being as I've been around in my career. I can't compliment him enough. His ability to affect the other players, his consistency as a person, right? Like there's no wavering on his words, his actions, his care for other people. Like he's an old soul, man. I mean, he has the ability to see the big picture and really care for other people. Very unique player, and he's a heck of a football player. So he in particular is one that I'll remember for sure.
France.
Billy, a couple of weeks ago, after the Georgia game, you said you thought maybe we had turned a corner. And what you're seeing in these last couple of ball games, are you seeing that it really has happened, that you have turned that corner that you've been looking for?
Well, I think we're getting better. I think we're always a work in progress, right? But this is something that can go away, right? It can disappear if you forget why it's happening, right? That's the key, that we learn these lessons, that we continue to apply the same approach. Sometimes your ego can get the best of you, right? You lose sight of, okay, hey, why is it actually working, right? We got to keep our humility, we got to keep our edge. But I do think that we're making progress, I believe that.
Just 2 questions. We'll go to Alan and then Zach.
What popped on the Trevor touchdown? It looked like it had a good seal from Kingsley, but you're probably thinking that's a 9 or 10-yard run, right? Did you think it might go 80 plus?
Yeah, no, those guys up front they're awesome. I mean, and we had a key block by a receiver. We had a key block. Ant made the right decision to hand the ball off instead of pitch the sweep. And they were in a bare front, and we got them hooked, and it came out of there. So we're going to give him – he did have the finishing speed to get it done, although he did get hawked down. Players are giving him a hard time. But when you rush the ball effectively, in particular with how we do it, every position group is contributing to that, right? I mean, receivers blocking their tail off out there, line of scrimmage, the edges by the tight ends, the read game with the quarterback, and then all the perimeter screen and perimeter RPO stuff. I mean, there's not a run out there where Ant's not deciding, should I throw it here, should I throw it there, I got to read this guy. I mean, it's one of the reasons we're successful. And then his ability to rush the ball is, I think Kitna, it gets overlooked, but Kitna's growth allows you to be more comfortable with Ant, doing some of the things he's doing here as of late. So a lot of people contribute when you rush the ball effectively.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is Anthony running behind his pads more than he was earlier in the season, like finishing runs with a little more physicality?
Yeah, I think he's just growing as an individual player. The physical traits are there with Ant. What I'm proud of is I think he is growing as a leader, right? He is getting comfortable with his role, his voice, being intentional about connecting with his teammates, right? His example, how to prepare during the week, how to have the self-discipline and be consistent in his approach, and then to speak with clarity and conviction, right? I think he's 20 years old, man. The game. I mean, I know we all put the crown on him early and all that, but he's really just a guy that's working extremely hard to do his job for the team, and and part of that job when you're the quarterback at this level and at this place is the leadership component. It's connecting with others. It's being thankful for all the people that contribute to your team. And I think he's walking around with intent in those areas, and I think it's helping him.
We'll close with Zach.
Billy, one guy who got his hands on the baller baton tonight was Desmond Watson. Can you just talk about his turnover and the athleticism he showed on that play?
Big Des, man. You know, I always tell the players, I want the officials to warn me, right? I want you to celebrate with your teammates. I want the sideline energy. I want you to be creative. Okay, but that was next level stuff there, right? I mean, we got a warning, but rightfully so, man. The guy just ripped it out of his hands, and that's a 440-pound man trying to run with that ball, right? So 6'5.5". I'm proud of Des. You know, he's come a long way, and let me tell you, he's only going to get better. I really believe that.